Hi everyone. Hey everyone, it's Dr. Chook from the Toronto Concussion Clinic, and today I'm going to show you an exercise involving optokinetic stimulation. So a lot of concussion patients, they're really sensitive to visual scenes and things, busy patterns, things moving really quickly and so on. And so technically, to be a true optokinetic stimulus, the actual scene has to occupy 80 to 90% of your field of view. So we try our best to kind of mimic that in this office. Obviously, to do it, it's actually quite expensive to do it truly, like make a whole room that's an optokinetic room. However, we find that this is still really useful to train the principles. And what we're trying to train is we're training a certain mental perspective. And it's not very obvious because most of us take for granted the strategy we use in moving around and doing things and reading things. And when I say strategy, how much of our attention is on what our vestibular system is telling us? How much of it is on what our visual system is telling us? How much of it is on what our neuromuscular control system is telling us? And if people have an aversion to this whole process, then their fight or flight system will kick in, and that will just kind of hijack the whole experience, and they won't be able to really relate to the experience in a mindful way. So what we're trying to do is gradually load the patient slowly so that they can use a different mental perspective in facing the optokinetic stimulus. So I'm going to show you an example, all right? So we have these videos, by the way. We have a playlist of kind of busy pattern videos on our website, not put up by us, but we found them on YouTube and collected them for you. So that's torontoconcussion.ca. You can just click on the YouTube icon and it'll take you right to the YouTube channel where we got this playlist. And so to start off, we might get someone in a challenging position so that, if that's what they're having a problem in, if they're having a problem in their vestibular system, we want to uptrain the vestibular system. So we might get them to narrow their stance so they have less neuromuscular control, and also, the surface is kind of squishy, so they have to rely more on their vestibular sense, right? And then all the things we've said in other videos up until now, that really having efficient breathing and not using your neck too much, and keeping your spine straight, and having good control of these muscles, the power muscles, the postural muscles, that is all relevant here. And so as people are standing here and really doing this, how much of their ability to keep balance is due to them focusing on one thing on the screen, and how much of it is due to them actually using the vestibular sense and neuromuscular sense? So what we'll do is, if we close their eyes, we get a better indication of how much they were using their eyes for the whole process. And you've heard us in previous videos saying, okay, what we want now is to train you to do it without your eyes, right? So that people can't kind of do that, can't use their eyes to compensate, because that's what gets them into trouble in post-concussion syndrome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go one step further, and we're going to say, well, not only are we going to deny you your vision, we're going to give you a really obnoxious thing to look at, and don't get carried away by it. And to not get carried away by something, you really got to focus on the thing we want you to focus on, which is all the other stuff, the postural control using your neuromuscular control system, your vestibular system, and regulating your emotions. Some people get really emotional or stressed out with this type of thing. Being able to regulate that. So we get the person kind of standing in the big screen. This is like a 70-incher or 75, something like that, centered in the screen. And people will right away try to game it by focusing like on something like this or something that's not moving. So just look out for that. Don't do that. We want you to take in the whole picture. And then at some point, people will learn to soften their gaze. And as they soften their gaze, then it's defeating kind of the purpose also. Okay. So I'm going to stand in tandem. Okay. And it is tougher, even for non-concussed people. And then what we might get them to do is to focus on the puck. Because if they're going to soften their gaze or focus on something else and say, okay, I want you to look for the puck. And then we start looking for the puck. And it's challenging, so do it in small increments. And then using the same strategy, you can add in more and more. Like you can add in head turns. You could have a second background noise. You could add in a cognitive task, like, you know, name men's names or something like that, or name countries in Africa while they're doing all that. You can even add visual things, like you could tape up a transparency like this, just put a bunch of letters on it, and stick it onto the screen, and people can read it. OFNPVDTCHE. Now, getting the task done is not the most important thing. It's getting it done with that right perspective, not pushing through it, but really doing it with that awareness of your posture, the breath. Wow. Staying relaxed, remembering that you're grounded with the room, keeping all that peripheral vision stuff in your attentional span, keeping an internal map in your mind of where everything is, remembering that you're anchored in the room and this is just a visitor. It's in the room with you, in your room. And adopting that perspective. And if you'll find that as people struggle, they'll start shaking more. And if they're doing the right perspective, they're a lot more balanced. So those are some, it's just one exercise, but you can do this in many different ways, and there's many different optokinetic stimulus videos online. And you know, you can use your imagination. The balance you can make as challenging as you want. The visual task is challenging. The cognitive as challenging as you want. The bigger screen, the more challenging also. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Take care and stay tuned for another video coming up soon to help you on your road to recovery.